confused as to what the church teaches.
Yeah.
The church is very clear about her teachings and about the teachings that are where there's policy, there's tolerance of different policy positions. Should we have a minimum wage or not?
Yeah.
There's no intrinsic thing about that. And should it be $15 or $10? There's arguments on both sides precisely for those who care for the poor, by the way.
Yeah, so that sign, amazing. Protecting abortion access is a Catholic
So the
value.
answer is no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely not. A couple of things I want to point people's attention to. I mentioned the Crisis magazine article, our first Catholic president, and I kind of teased before Sissel's newscast about who were they referring to. They were referring to President Donald Trump as the first Catholic president, okay? That got a lot of attention on Twitter, and it's a very provocative title, okay? They were referring to Trump's Lenten Ash Wednesday message, where he said, among other things, quote, "The imposition of ashes is an invitation to spend time during Lent fasting, praying, and engaging in acts of charity. This powerful and sacred tradition reminds us of our shared mortality, Christ's saving love, and the need to repent and accept the gospel more fully." So they're saying, wow, that sounds really Catholic. And they're saying his stand, of course, they admitted Trump has a lot of faults. But they said many of his policies, many of the things that he, in his platform, conform with the non-negotiables that you're talking about, Dr. Malloy.
Including if you wanted to put it in terms of, if you wanted to extract the virtue from, the very unfortunate aspects of some of his rhetorical strategies, what would be the word? Chutzpah.
Yeah, right.
Right? So, in other words, so many politicians are cowed by the attacks on the left, so many who stand for values, and he's not. And so there's an aspect there that if you could extract that from the unsavory, that would be marvelous.
Yeah. I mentioned also that Joseph Pierce and also Father Dwight Longenecker say, he wrote an article, what would a truly Catholic politician look like? And I wish we'll spend more time on this in a future show, but Joseph Pierce had highlighted Hilaire Belloc, who, I don't know if you knew this.
I did not know that he had won election.
He
1906.
That's so
1906,
crazy.
and his
By 800 votes.
His opponent was targeting him as being a Catholic and said, "Do we really want a Frenchman and a Catholic?" And all this negative politics. Negative politics didn't begin with Donald Trump. So Hilaire Belloc, instead of running away from his Catholicism, he got up in front of Parliament, in front of his people, and he said, and this is a quote, "Gentlemen, I am a Catholic. As far as possible, I go to Mass every day. This," and he holds up his rosary, "is a rosary. As far as possible, I kneel down and pray these beads every day. If you reject me on account of my religion, I shall thank God that he has spared me the indignity of being your representative." For a few so that was the end of his quote. "And for a few seemingly endless moments, there was a hush of utter astonishment, followed by a thunderclap of applause. Confronting the bigotry head on," Joseph Pierce says, "appears to have paid dividends because Mr. Belloc was elected to Parliament 13th of January 1906 by a slim majority." He didn't run away from his faith.
No pandering there.
No
Wow.
pandering, okay? I think JFK, God bless him, God rest his soul, he ran away from his Catholicism. Didn't hurt him, he won the election, but...
that's what I liked the mention of Belloc in that article, and I thought it was a nice compliment to Father Longenecker's. I liked Father Longenecker's piece. But the one thing I would add is one missing thing in his report of Catholic social doctrine is the kingship of Christ.
Yeah.
And this is crucial. And the listeners, I'd recommend Pius XI. Read Quas Primas, Pius XI. It's on the internet. Or you could read Pope Leo XIII, Immortale Dei, paragraph 6. Go right there. Our Catholic faith should inform our politics.
Amen. Right? Yeah, that's awesome. And well, thank you so much. Let's move on, and because we have a very important topic, and like I said, a sobering topic. And by the way, if you feel compelled or inspired to call in during this segment, please do. 877-757-9424. 877-757-9424. Diane's telling me that we have a hookup with Midland, and so we will have video of the drawing, it appears, here at the end of the show. I received an email recently by a Dr. Augustina Madu Odidika, and she said in her email, "I was born in a Catholic family in Biafra, West Africa, and have remained a Catholic all my life. In the course of the email, she wondered why Catholic radio wasn't reporting news about the genocide against Christians, particularly Biafrans or Igbos in Nigeria, who are on a daily basis being attacked by 4 major terrorist groups officially sponsored by the Fulani Muslim-led government in Nigeria. She pointed out over 7 Catholic priests have been murdered in the last 2 years. The most recent, a seminarian, beheaded recently at the same time when a chapter chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria was gruesomely murdered. Okay, so I said, you're right. I don't hear much about this. I will say, though, my colleague Joe McLean on Mondays often talks about persecution, probably more so than most hosts on Catholic radio. It's a topic that really needs a lot of attention. So I said, Dr. Augustina, and she does have a PhD, and she said, go ahead and refer to me as Augustina during the interview. I said, come on in. Let's talk about this. So she joins me in to talk about this very, very important topic. So, Dr. Augustina, thanks for coming in. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much, Dave, for having me here and having some of my friends come to support me. My name is Augustina Mato Dedeka. As he has introduced me, I'm a Biafran, which is right now part of Nigeria. We are members of St. Bartholomew Catholic Church in Fort Worth, and I work for the Fort Worth Independent School District. I'm married, I have 5 children, and I was raised Catholic and have always remained Catholic. But the treatment of Christians in Nigeria has become so awful, where people are killed on a daily basis. There are beheadings every day. Every night people talk about how many people died, and constantly villages are being ransacked and sacked every night, and people are killed in the thousands every week. And there is no reporting
Thousands
about
every
this
week.
Thousands every week, and there is no reporting about this in the world. You can sometimes hear it on social media, and if your family member is affected, you hear it sometimes. And sometimes if you're affected personally, of course, you mourn. But most people don't know that this happens. And this is perpetrated by the evil government that has been installed in that part of the world by the British Empire, the then British Empire, who colonized our part of the world. So Biafrans were part of Nigeria. And because we were part of Nigeria, we're kind of annexed into being part of Nigeria. They collected a whole bunch of nations in that region at that time and made us part of Nigeria and called us Nigeria, which we think is kind of a derogatory kind of expression now that we are in the United States and we know that.
Let me stop for a second. I did a little bit of research before the program just so I could have some numbers, and there is a persecution monitoring group called Open Doors, and also the UK-based Humanitarian Aid Relief Trust, and they estimate that 7,000 Nigerian Christians have been killed for their faith in the past 5 years. You're saying 1,000 a week, I think you said, right? And so these numbers apparently are really, really low. So is nobody's getting numbers right.
Very low. And one of the things that happens is that the media in Nigeria have been telling this kind of lies all the time, that people are beginning to just accept. Who is going to go and find out? Who will find out how many people died in a village that was sacked? The Nigerian government doesn't even know how many people live in a particular village.
Yeah.
How do listeners get good data? I mean, Aid to the Church in Need, I know, is in Sudan. Is there some group that we can go to find out and listen more to the suffering church here?
That's the even more insane thing, is that people who come from outside of the world and go into Nigeria are not allowed because they're scared. Mm-hmm. They're threatened. Their lives are threatened.
Yeah.
You don't want to go where your life is threatened.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You might die just on your way going to the place. So it is almost impossible to get good data, clean data from Nigeria. There is no way.
Who is doing the killing, too? I mean, not just the government, but could you tell us more specifically?
This is a wonderful question. Specifically is the Fulani herdsmen and 5 other Islamic terror groups in
So
Nigeria.
Islamic terror
Terror
groups.
groups, Islamic terror groups. And I have names like Fulani herdsmen, ISIS, ISIS in West Africa, Boko Haram, Mieti Allah, who are always active in Nigeria right now, killing people, sacking villages at night. When you wake up in the morning, you see that the whole village have been killed off. And the rest who maybe made it alive will run out to the roads, and then they are discovered by people. So this is constantly happening in Nigeria.
I want to read this and then have you comment on it because this gave me a lot of insight as to what's happening and why it's happening. It said Fulani are the world's, and tell me if this is accurate, Dr. Augustina. The Fulani are the world's largest nomadic group, and they believe they have a right to take land in Nigeria to graze their cattle. It's a concept in Islam called sacred space, and one Nigerian pastor said, according to this concept, all land has been given by Allah to the Muslims, and the Muslims have a right to claim any piece of land. And most of the areas that the Fulani are attacking are Christian communities, so it is very easy to see that it's happening in ethnic cleansing and to advance the cause of jihad. So they believe they have a right to this land.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
They believe that they have Osman Danfodio is one of the people who came there as a Muslim, Fulani Muslim, and promised a long time ago, before we were born, promised my ancestors that he's going to dip the Quran in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, if you look at the map of Nigeria, you will see that the Fulani tribe and the Hausa tribe live in the northern part of Nigeria, and there is no way they can dip the Quran in the Atlantic Ocean without going through our land and going into the Atlantic Ocean. So what they're promising us is that they will wipe us out, take over our land, and make sure to establish their kingdom all the way to the Atlantic Ocean.
And that's what they're doing.
That's
So
exactly what they're
is
doing.
there so there's definitely a religious element to this persecution. Is there also a tribal or cultural element, or is it mostly religious?
It's mostly religion, it's mostly Islamization of the West African countries.
This is not a peaceful
It's
thing.
not a piece. They're not asking you if you can move over and let them live among you. No, they're not. They're trying to kill the people and take over their land and displace them.
Yeah. I want to draw a comparison, and I know you and I spoke about this, and a couple of Choma and Charles are here as well. I don't know if you are going to speak or not, or if you're here for support, but go ahead and let us know if you want to speak, and then Sissel, you can open up another mic. But people are familiar with the Rwandan genocide, primarily because of the work of Immaculée Iligabiza, and she wrote a book, Left to Tell, which is a harrowing description of her own experience, almost being murdered, her whole family being wiped out. When I made that comparison to you all, one of you, I forget which one it was, said, no, this is worse. So when people think of how horrible it was in Rwanda, I think that was in the 1990s, I believe, this is worse. So that puts, but we don't right now have the Immaculée Iligabiza traveling around, and she did this after the fact. I remember she said during one of her talks that President Clinton actually apologized to her and said, you know what, I should have done more, because we really didn't do very much while it was going on. So maybe draw that comparison to that, because that's something people are familiar with.
This is so much worse, and I know my sister wants to speak about this. This is so much worse that we need to not let what happened then happen now, because it's happening right now on a greater scale. And what we're asking is that the world shines a light, some kind of light, onto what Nigerian government. We're saying Nigerian government because these Fulani Muslims who are trying to Islamize Nigeria are now in power in Nigeria. And they've been in power in Nigeria for a long time. They just accept that it's their right to rule in Nigeria. And because then the British Empire that established Nigeria as their area, their territory, gave them the power to rule Nigeria, which is absurd. It is absurd because the southern people accepted Christianity. But because they knew that the Igbo man would not allow them to colonize them and take the resources of their land, they went and forged alliance with the Fulani Empire.
There is so much nefarious stuff in the history of the British Empire carving up the Middle East, and now you're telling us as well, Nigeria, I'm sure other nations in Africa. This tale needs to be written. and I don't know where the historians are on this, but they need to write it. How far back does this go? Is this before World War One?
This goes before World War One. Yes, yes, sir. It
Yeah.
does go before World War One.
Your sister, this is your sister Choma, right?
Yes, Choma
who I
is
ran
here.
into last weekend at a parish fortuitously. Make sure you talk right into the microphone, Choma, and why don't you go ahead and contribute what you'd like about this. And yeah, go ahead. So welcome to the program. If you want to introduce yourself,
Okay,
you can.
my name is Choma Imokoronkwo. I'm a registered nurse by profession. Yeah, I just got off work this morning because we needed to be here because our land is so precious to us. So we actually needed to restore our land from these marauders. So like I talked to you last time on Sunday, it's just like worse than what happened in Rwanda.
Yeah.
So now it's just so terrible that everybody is so scared back home because you're not sure of your life the next day. Like we usually say that the survivors of yesterday might be today's victim. So it's just so terrible. Like my sister was talking about the Islamization. Actually, this is a kind of is joined up with tribalistic tendencies because the Fulanese not just killing the Christians, but those of them that are not the Wahhabi Muslims, because there is two factions of Muslim in Nigeria. You have the Wahhabis, you have the I think the other one is trying to remember.
The Sunnis.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember their names. So if you don't align with them, actually they have to kill you to get rid of you, get your land. And these Fulanis we are talking about, they are not original indigenes of Nigeria. Like my sister actually said, they were implanted into Nigeria to have access to our oil and other stuff. Even grab our lands, like we have a vegetative area where we have a good plan, good forestries and other stuff. So it's just like an interesting area to be as at the time, but they don't want the indigenes to have access to their culture. They don't have the indigenes to have just to mess everybody up. So it's so crazy.
And they were
back home,
planted.
yeah.
They were planted by the British.
They were planted by the British.
So now, and you read the Amazon Synod report. We talked about that before, and there are some elements of that are important basic principles, and that one is that the kind of the people who are there, should be the stewards of the resources. So basically, what the British are doing is this is like post-slavery colonization. Basically, we're going to get you, and we're going to play a tribe off a tribe, religion off a religion, divide, and then are they selling their goods to the British?
Yeah, let me
I
draw
ju-
that. Let me
okay.
just tell you how bad it is. For 1 barrel of oil that is extracted from Biafra land right now, Britain gets 13 barrels. Okay. Our land is very rich in oil and gas. And like she was trying to say that we have other natural resources. So for every barrel of oil that Nigeria can make use of in their economy, Britain gets 13 barrels. That is just overwhelmingly unjust.
That's unbelievable.
Let me give out the
Unjust.
phone number in case anybody listening would like to comment or if you have a question. We're talking about the plight of Christian Nigerians in Nigeria, of course. The phone number, 877-757-9424, 877-757-9424. We only have about 7 or 8 more minutes on this topic. So if you do have a question, please call in quickly. My guest is Dr. Augustina Madu Odidika and her sister Chioma, who are both in here in studio. Very important, of course, Dr. Malloy and also Sissel and me as well. Dr. Malloy?
Just briefly, and the Nigerians that come here and that I see here in
Yeah.
Irving, Texas, which is a very multicultural city, by the
Yeah.
way, one of the most in the United States, are so faithful and beautiful in their Catholic faith. Right? So these are our brothers and sisters who are This should be killing us.
And I bet very few people listening, at least I can't speak for other parts of the country, but here in Texas, a lot of African priests
Yes.
in our parishes, a lot of Nigerian priests.
And they mentioned the devil and hell.
Yeah, and so Nigeria has blessed us. That country in particular, often asked, what is going on in Nigeria? Why they're just amazing people. So I want to speak and ask you. You have immediate family members that are there.
Yes.
Do they feel on a day-to-day basis threatened? I mean, we wake up in the morning and wonder, as Joe likes to say, if our coffee is going to be warm enough. But do they wonder if they're going to survive that day? Is it that
Yes,
dire on a
sir.
day-to-day basis?
Yes, sir. It is so dire that when you go to bed in the night, you don't know whether you wake up because somebody might come and start shooting and sporadically kill as many people as possible in the location that you are. If you wake up and you try to carry on a normal kind of life, there is checkpoint after checkpoint on the roadway to stop you and frisk you and extort money from you that you cannot even get to where you're going. So it is constant harassment. Our land is under occupation. That's what we try to convey to people. But I don't think anybody can even imagine how that is.
Do your people have any militias to counter this, or is it just no arms at all?
I am so happy you asked. No arms at all. And the Nigerian government, who is perpetrating this on people, have asked that people give up their arms. Give up your arms. You cannot be found with any arms in your house. If you are found with any arms in your house, you are imprisoned. By the way, they don't only kill people, they maim people. I mean, beheading is the worst cruel way of killing people.
And they're sitting
It's not
ducks.
just sitting ducks.
Sitting ducks, yeah.
You have nothing to defend yourself. And if they catch you on the roadway and you didn't give them enough money for the extortion that they're asking you, they can carry you to jail and you never see any courtroom and they just keep you.
Augustine, I want to make sure that we get, because the people listening right now are horrified, and maybe some of them are hearing about how bad this is for the
It
first
is
time,
horrifying.
and people are thinking, okay, what can I do? And we're not going to get on a plane and go over there and fight them militarily. We can certainly pray. I want to make sure we get that in. What can the average American do to help the Christians in Nigeria?
Number one thing that I ask your listeners and average Americans to do is to pray for our people. That's number one. But number two is that today we are the indigenous people of Biafra, are led by Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. And that man has shown us a way of at least talking to people like you, talking to governments around the world, institutions around the world, so that the Judeo-Christian people who are trapped in Nigeria can be rescued somehow. So we are fighting against the radical Islamism, and we want you to talk to your lawmakers. We want you to speak, whoever the president becomes, like we were talking about, the Catholic president that we would like becomes, we would like to lobby and make sure that he knows that people are dying. Christian people, Catholic people are dying daily. So that's what we want.
Okay. Thistle has a question.
Yeah, Augustine, I have a question. Do you all have like a particular Marian devotion or saint that you are asking for prayers from that we can ask for prayers from? Is there any like novena or anything that you all have been focusing on?
There is a particular prayer that they say all over Catholic churches in Nigeria. I don't have that prayer now, but I can send it in later on so that you can also have that and maybe announce that letter. But my favorite saint is St. Augustine, and I'm named after St. Augustine, of course. St. Augustine is a beautiful man who, after walking away from God, came back through the prayers of his mother, St. Monica. And I think that all mothers should be praying for the children of Biafra, the children of Nigeria who are being killed. By the way, they kill children just to get to their parents. They will kill your children and kill mothers in front of their husbands just to hurt you. These people are not just shooting people because they are actually wanting to kill your soul.
Dr. Malloy asked earlier about numbers. Where can we go? Are there websites? Is there any resource where people can keep up to date? Because we know that the media is not following this closely. So where can they go?
There's one website that I am aware of and that I get my information from, and that is IPOB IPOBUSA.org.
IPOBUSA.org. Okay.
Yes, that is one place that you can get news from, and you can always call. There is Indigenous Peoples of Biafra, the IPOB members all across the country. So from through that website, you can get some people's telephone numbers to call and ask more questions.
And I'm so grateful that you all reached out to me, because it must be terribly frustrating to see what's happening in your homeland, and then see, the basically being ignored, and nobody's really covering it. And so, we're doing our part now, and hopefully we can continue. Maybe we can have a follow-up on this as well. Chioma, we only have 2 minutes remaining, and I just wanted, do you have anything? And then maybe we can finish with Dr. Agostino with a final statement.
Actually, I just wanted to talk about the insecurity is so bad, like even the indigents, they don't know where to run to, because the government actually they say they arrest these Boko Haram members. What they do to them, they say they rehabilitate them and they put them back in the military or put them in the police. So for you to have a problem, somebody attacked you and you want to report, you don't know where to report. So people are so scared. You might go. We've had an incident where a lady was beheaded because he went to report to the police that Boko Haram attacked the family. So this is so bad.
Yeah.
And like Mr. Palmas, like I told you on Sunday, this is the time we actually need you guys to actually create the awareness for us in the whole world, so that the whole world will know what we're going through. It's been like for ages. It's been like more than 100 years ago, but it's just like it's not been. It was this bad in '67 when the war broke out. But unfortunately, they didn't wipe us out. We're still existing. But now, actually, what they're doing is just to make sure that area is gone, so that they'll be able to achieve their aim with Britain helping them. So this is just our problem right now. We don't have arms. We just depend on God and the international world to assist us.
And the prayers of the faithful as well. Chioma, thank you for being here. Also, Charles, who's here as well. Dr. Agostino, I'll give you the last word. We just have about 30, 45 seconds before we have to go to break.
We just want to let people know that UN and the African Union guarantees that we have a right for separating or being a self-determining nation. And the nation of Biafra wants to separate from Nigeria because, and we have existed before, we want to separate from Nigeria because of all these things that we have already said. We want to restore Biafra so that our people have freedom, peace, and security, and to be protected from the Islamic genocide and terrorism that is being carried out in Nigeria.
I appreciate both of you, all three of you being here and also bringing this to our attention. Dr. Agostina Madu Odidika and her sister Chioma as well. Thank you, Charles, for being here as well. And that website, again, IPOBUSA.org, where you can keep up to date on the plight of Christians in Nigeria. And I think, if nothing else, we've learned the last 20, 30 minutes is that it's a lot more dire than most of us ever realized. So anyways, thank you very much for being on with us. And Dr. Malloy, I know you got a split. Good to see you. Boy, this time has gone by fast.
It has.
You're gonna have to
I hope there's someone in Washington listening.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
Dave.
WMET, 1160 a.m. Who knows? I mean, the
you very
president could be
much.
listening for all we know. All right, we are going to take a break. Please continue to pray for Christians in Nigeria. They've had a huge contribution to the church here in America, and we can return the favor by, if nothing else, praying for them, and that we can end to this bloody violence that's being perpetrated against them. All right, when we come back, we're going to take kind of a little bit longer of a break right now. We're going to get set up. We're going to connect with Midland, and it's the moment that we've been waiting for the last couple of months as we've sold raffle tickets. Somebody is about to win a 2020 Cadillac CT5, and you're going to see it and hear it live on the radio and through our social media platforms. Diane, are we on? Yeah, okay. YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So you can go to those. GRN Online is the password, and see a lot of people are watching already. And we'll take a break and come back and connect with Faustino Rodriguez in Midland, and Toya and Lisa and the gang, and find out who the lucky winner is right after this.
I don't know why I turned on my radio, because I've kept my radio off for years, because there's so much trash. And once I turned it on, I was absolutely hooked. I actually was gone from the Catholic Church for 35 years. I want to get to heaven. I don't know if I will. I mean, I worry about it. But I not only want to get to heaven at the moment of my death, I want to find as much heaven as possible here on earth. I love the shows with the Catholic apologist. I love the shows with the sort of day-to-day psychologist, Greg and Lisa Popchak. I love hearing not just of other people's problems who call in, but I love getting the Catholic take on how to deal with day-to-day reality. If your purpose in life is to find God, not just here, but after you die, then living out that purpose is going to color absolutely everything you do.
The Guadalupe Radio Network, radio for your soul.
I'll bet you know by now that Amazon Smile is a great way to support your favorite charity. And supporting the Guadalupe Radio Network while you shop is easy. Step 1. Just start off at smile.amazon.com. Step 2. Choose La Promesa Foundation as your charity. La Promesa Foundation is the parent company of Guadalupe Radio Network. And Step 3. Enjoy your shopping. Amazon will donate a portion of your purchase to the La Promesa Foundation, and it doesn't cost you any extra. La Promesa Foundation and Guadalupe Radio Network, thank you.
Solidarity HealthShare is rebuilding Catholic healthcare in America. We conform to the moral guidelines of the Catholic Church, so you never have to worry about your healthcare dollars paying for anything that violates your conscience. From conception to natural death, we strive to serve all healthcare needs, protect human life, celebrate families, and promote the dignity of all people. Join Solidarity HealthShare in restoring and rebuilding authentic Catholic healthcare by signing up at solidarityhealthshare.org, a sponsor of the Guadalupe Radio Network.
This is Len Oswald, president of the GRN, with your GRN Family Minute. We are now in the Lenten season, which gives us an opportunity to slow down and assess how we are doing in our walk with God. One way to help us in making that assessment is by listening to the spiritually edifying Lenten programming on the Guadalupe Radio Network. These programs will help us identify spiritual areas in which we can grow and also help us identify areas where we need to change. It provides an opportunity for us to renew our commitment to following Jesus, enabling us to come closer to Him during this upcoming Easter. So, through the Lenten programming on the GRN, let's live this Lent not as a burden, but in a joy-filled way of refocusing ourselves on the one thing that really matters eternally: friendship and union with God. Together, we are one Guadalupe Radio Network family. We are radio for your soul.
All right, Radio for Your Soul, that's who we are, and we thank you so much for tuning in. This is GRN Alive Friday edition on this March 6, 2020. We've been looking forward to this day for a long time now, because this is the day after 8 weeks of car raffle ticket sales and a lot of people just really digging deep and supporting this network. We get to announce and draw the winner live from our Midland studio of a winner of a 2020 Cadillac CT5. This is an exciting moment. I'm giving out the phone number. No reason to call right now. But let me bring into the conversation Faustino Rodriguez, who is our West Texas General Manager for the Guadalupe Radio Network, and we have the feed. You can watch it. It's almost live. If you want to go to Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter and just put in GRN Online, I'm watching it here. Faustina, good morning. How you doing?
Hey, Dave. Good morning. Good morning, dear GRN family. Good to be with you.
All right. So I am watching the scene. I think it's a little bit delayed, but I see that you've got, we got the tumbler there.
Right.
Do you want to introduce the people who are there with you, Faustino?
That's right. Right behind me is Sammy Rodriguez. He is the new business manager here for the Guadalupe Radio Network. And also to his right is Lisa Martinez. So, Sammy, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. This is Sammy Rodriguez. We're very excited to give this car away today, and we just want to thank everyone so much for all the support that they gave us.
Absolutely.
And Sammy, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Because you're the newest member of the GRN family, and people are just hearing about you for the first time. Anything you want to say about yourself or your family, or anything else?
Yes, I've just recently joined the Guadalupe Radio Network family here as the business manager. My wife, Pearl, and I are super excited about this opportunity. Longtime listeners, supporters, and that said, we just can't tell you everybody who supported how much you mean to us and helping us keep Catholic radio on the air. You're much appreciated.
Yeah, Sammy Rodriguez, business manager, recently brought on to the GRN family, and so we're very thankful for him. Also, as I mentioned, Faustino Rodriguez, West Texas general manager for the Guadalupe Radio Network, and Lisa Martinez, our database manager, is going to be the one that's going to be turning the tumbler and drawing that ticket. Is Toya there? I don't see Toya. Is she with y'all?
Yeah, she's actually in her office right now. We're all listening and looking on our Facebook feed. So, of course, we're going to suggest for our listeners to share the feed after it's done as well. And, of course, share about your station as well.
Yeah. Faustino, before we do the drawing, and I know a lot of people have been eagerly awaiting this, I just want to take a little bit of time because I know you would share the sentiment as well. We have a lot of people to thank. You know, there's so many people that have made this possible. It's been a very, very successful car raffle. It should be pointed out that the reason we did this for the first time a number of years ago is because January and February traditionally had been months, after Christmas and people running up, their bills. Sometimes they get behind, and the donations were slowing down in the first quarter of the year, and we were finding it very hard. So Len and Toya came up with the idea to do a car raffle, and it has just been building year by year. Every year it's gotten better, and we're so grateful because, we go out to these parishes, sell tickets, people help us sell tickets, and this really does, Faustino, help us get to the first Share-a-thon, which is going to begin on March 24th, by the way. So anything else you want to add about that, Faustino?
No, I think just like Sammy said, just a thank you to everybody who make this possible. Especially thank you to our priest as well for allowing us to go into your parish, promote Catholic radio, and also to help sell the raffle tickets to your parishioners as well. And a big thank you to all the volunteers that took some tickets, sold them to their friends and family. I mean, we just are very grateful to you guys. And this is in honor of our 20-year celebration, Dave. So we've never done this before. So we're doing a 2020 Cadillac. So this is the first time ever. So this is history in the making, and it's very exciting here.
It really is. And a few other people I want to thank because there's so many people that have worked behind the scenes to make this successful. Of course, everybody who bought tickets, and there are a lot of people who bought tickets. So you know who you are. Many of you are watching us on our social media platforms or listening right now, eagerly awaiting, saying, get to the drawing, will you, for Pete's sake? And we will get to it. But I don't want to not thank these folks. A lot of people also helped us sell tickets. I'm just speaking here in North Texas. There were people that said, give me 20, 30 tickets.
Right,
people that, the pastors, you already mentioned the priests.
Yes.
These pastors all have the bills to pay, and they have their own collection. And I know, just in North Texas, there were 40 parishes that allowed us to come in and speak. And I am so indebted and so grateful for these dear men who say, you know what? Yeah, we have to pay our bills, but we also know that Guadalupe Radio Network is valuable. And so we're going to let you come in, talk about Catholic radio, sell tickets. And so thank you. We can't obviously name them all by name, but those pastors are really, really helpful. The volunteers, the people who went out and speak for us, sell tickets, the sponsors who supported us, let us come into their offices and do live remote broadcasts. Anything else, Cecil, Faustino, anybody else that we're missing? Of course, our dear Lord and our Blessed Mother, who without them, we not only we would not have a car raffle, we wouldn't have our next breath, right?
That's right.
Absolutely.
All right. So are we ready, Faustino? Do you want to do the play-by-play and tell us you're going to be spinning that tumbler? And why don't you go ahead and take it? Oh, take it away. Let us know what's going on over there.
Let's do this. And let's begin with a prayer, Dave. In the name of the Father, and the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
And most Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, we thank you, we praise you, and we love you. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity to work in your vineyard. And Lord, we do this for your praise and for your glory. And we ask that you please pick the winner, Lord, someone that would be blessed by this car, that would continue to promote Catholic radio as well. Just thank you for all the priests. Bless them, Lord, abundantly. Thank you for all the listeners, the volunteers that made this possible, Lord. And thank you for our GRN family, Lord. Thank you for the gift of this family. And Father, we ask all this for your praise and for your glory, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Now, I told Sammy, we've been, as we get tickets every week, Dave, we've been mixing it here. So I told him to stretch out and take his protein shake. So he's ready for this. He's had a workout. It is, if you see it behind, you'll see the tumbler behind us. It is kind of big and heavy. So thanks be to God for that. So, Sammy, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
Here we go.
The big moment has arrived.
Yeah, there we go.
I love the sound. Oh, he's stressing. He's straining to turn it.
Good one.
Yes. Okay. So turn it,
right.
and now.
Hey, Miss Lisa.
And Lisa will pick the winning number here, the winning ticket. Not looking, no peeking. Okay. And she has one. Here we go.
The big moment. Drum roll.
All right. Mic on.
Well, Unfortunately, I'm not able to read.
Oh,
let's see. It's
It's
214 area code,
Ooh.
and it says on here. I think the last name is. Let me just look at it real
so
quickly.
it's from the Dallas area.
Yeah, Peracta, I want to say, is the last name. So we'll
But
we'll leave
you
it at
have a
that.
phone number. I mean, we're not going to
Yes.
give the phone number out, of course.
No,
but
no.
that's the most. It is illegible, but you can't read the name entirely.
But I can read actually the ticket number.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
It's 02227.
Bingo.
Wow. And
That's
and
02227.
okay, and so you it's kind of, and that's Cecil and I have talked about this a number of times. Is that people fill out their own ticket stubs.
Yes.
And so we don't know how legible it is. As long as we have a phone number, it's okay.
Yeah.
But it looks like we're not going to be able to at this point. Give a name, or at least.
I mean, no, but it's from Dallas. I
Yeah,
think,
we know it's from the Dallas. We don't know if it was from the Spanish station or the English
Right.
station, but okay. So what was, as far as you know, do you want to try to repeat that? What we do know is the best guess of the person's name, Faustino?
Yeah, again, the last name, David, begins with a P. It looks like it's Peracta, Peracta. Peracta is the last name. So-
Right. And the first initial of the first name, I suppose, is C.
Okay.
Okay. And the ticket number is 02227.
All right, there we go. So we'll do some
Okay.
investigation today.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. So, Martine, do you want to join us? Or Martine is here, and we do have just a few minutes remaining. Martine is our general manager of KJON 850 AM. I don't know if that name sounds familiar. Of course, we had a lot of tickets.
I didn't get a chance to listen. What was that? Because I was not.
Something. It's the ticket number is
Peracta.
Peracta, like Perrata. C.Perata is the winner. Of course, we're going to identify the person, and we'll invite them to come into the studio, take a picture of them. Everybody is going to get to see this person. So somebody named Perata has just won a 2020.
Sounds like Peralta. That's what it sounds like, the last name.
It could be. It could be.
Yes,
Martin. That C
yes.
is probably a L.
Yeah.
That C is probably
Yeah,
a
it
L.
looks
You're
like
right.
Peralta, the last name. 0227. I got to go because I'm
it
live
looks like-
on the Cajun studio as well. And
Okay.
I got to go give the news to our great listeners in North Texas. Thanks,
All
Dave,
right.
for the opportunity.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Faustino,
Whatever
Sammy,
secretary
Lisa,
that would have
anything
to be
else from our Midland studio that you want to share before we close out the show?
I think that's it. Just thanks again, Dave. Thanks again, dear priest and dear GRN family as well. We're very grateful to you. And God bless you, and hope you make this a very holy season of Lent as well.
Yeah, and thank you, Faustino, and Toya and Sammy and Lisa for doing that. And, we always say, Sissel, when somebody buys a ticket, we say, one person wins the car, but everybody else
Right.
who has bought the tickets is contributing of keeping the gospel message of Jesus Christ on the
Absolutely.
airwaves.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
They have a chance of winning a car and a guarantee of supporting Catholic radio.
Yeah.
Amen.
And so, everybody who's maybe has a little bit of disappointment that, I didn't win, you did win, because the next time you hear somebody giving a testimony during one of our shurathons about life restored or marriage being blessed or coming back to the church and going to confession for the first time in 30 years,
Yes.
this is because of you. It's because you made the decision to buy a raffle ticket or call in during our shurathon, okay? So, anyways... thanks again, Faustino. Great work out there. I want to thank Diane and Joe and everybody, Robert, and who made the video portion of it possible. And now we've got 10 months to take a little break before we kick off another car raffle of 2021. So we are coming to an end of the show. Just a reminder. This program is rebroadcast 10 o'clock Central Time on Saturday mornings. We switch back between the Monday and the Friday show, so tune in tomorrow if you want to listen again to the topics we talked about on this program. And keep in mind the topics we talked about today, particularly the plight of Christians in Nigeria. Pray for them and pray for an end to the violence there. Thanks to everybody. Thanks, Sissel. Daniel, don't forget, an after show coming up here in a few minutes. We'll talk a little bit more about the car raffle and some of the topics we talked about during the show today. God bless you and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And thank you for your support of the Guadalupe Radio Network.
Thank you for listening to GRN Alive from the studios of the Guadalupe Radio Network. For more faith, fun, and facts,
All right. Hello, everybody. And this is what we call the after show. Do you have the phone number, Martine? Do you have the phone number of the winner yet? No. Okay. Well, not that we're going to give it over the, but I was thinking if we got the phone number and you could call them and then come on our after show, because we're still on social media, and then we can reveal to the audience the first information about the winner. But anyways, welcome everybody. Thanks if you were listening to the GRN Live show. The last hour, we like to stay on afterwards and talk a little bit more informally about some of the topics we spoke about. Of course, very exciting that somebody just won a Cadillac CT5 2020. And let me just introduce all the folks here. I'm Dave Palmer. We have Cecil Anderson, who is on our production team and also does the news and commentary and is a voice on GRN Live. Daniel Demore.
Hello.
Is a young man who's film, radio, TV student at a local community college, a budding apologist, and then Diane Xavier is also here, and she's doing all the toggling and switching our social media, and she likes to jump in as well. So why don't y'all, what do you think, Daniel? Do you want to comment about well, did you listen to the show?
Yeah.
What struck you about the show today?
Well, as much as I learned about what's going on in Nigeria, I didn't know that there was that big of a conflict there, and just, how difficult it is to kind of live a basic, simple life, and I kind of just remembered that, I'm proud to be an American, and because things are a lot, I guess, it's safer here than it is in other countries, so yeah, those people really need our help from our country and also our prayers that, that they will progress and move out of the darkness. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very good. It really highlights the fact that, we can, we can only think about so many things at one time. Right. And, of course, everybody's, we're driving our kids to soccer practice or, studying for exams. Mm-hmm. And then hear this atrocious thing happening in one part of the world. Yeah. Obviously we can't all focus all of our attention on it, but I think we need to focus more attention than we are currently, and the government should, because there's literally people being slaughtered to death, and I think by comparison, the coronavirus, like I said at the beginning of the show, it's important, and I'm not making light of it at all, but I think the reason why people are hysterical is because they're thinking, okay, this can impact me,
right?
Where the Muslims running around killing people in Nigeria is not going to impact me, and we all tend to be a little bit selfish.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
All right, Cecil.
Yeah, definitely. It was a hard topic to listen to this morning. I knew a bit about it because I have actually read a bit about what's happening, but hearing it firsthand, especially when knowing that these lovely folks that came in this morning have families that are still there, that are feeling this persecution, it was very, very hard. A listener pointed out that the link that she gave about looking up the information didn't work, so we might want to double check and make sure we get the right address so people can look into it. But another website, Open Doors, is another one that talks about Christian persecution. And I was just looking at it, and they rate the profile of persecution is 99% violence. That's the type of persecution that's going on, and it just was a staggering, statistic and stuff like that. Just seeing. So, yeah, but it was definitely something very important. And not only is it something that should be brought up more, it should be brought up accurately more. That's the thing I think is the big deal.
All right. Martine is walking the hallways here. I'm eager to find out more about this winner. Of course, we're going to invite this person into the studio, and of course, I'm sorry, I'm switching topics here because you guys are talking about a much more important topic of the Nigerian genocide, and I'm toggling back and talking about the car raffle. So, anyways, welcome to my ADD brain. I'm sorry, but yeah.
Well, it is a flip side of it. We have the struggle and persecution going on there, but then the growth of Catholicism here, the spreading of the gospel. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, if people, if you think about it, it may be simplistic, but if people weren't out there buying car raffle tickets, we would not have been able to do the interview because that was the whole point that Dr. Augustina made when she first emailed me. And I could tell she was frustrated is that, as she mentioned, literally her loved ones back in Nigeria go to bed at night and don't know whether or not they're going to wake up in the next morning. We don't have that fear.
Yeah.
We don't go to bed thinking, gosh, I might get slaughtered tonight. But that's their fear. And here she's in the most powerful country in the world that really has an ability to affect change, and people aren't even talking about it.
I know. And it's interesting, tying it back into the car raffle, it's very timely that we did this because I was going to bring it up to you again. I don't know if you remember me mentioning, Dave, a few weeks ago, I went to a parish, did a talk, and I was selling tickets afterwards, and a gentleman came up to me and said, why is no one talking about the persecution in Nigeria?
Oh, really?
And I gave
Yeah.
him your email. And I said, contact him. I don't know if he was affiliated with Augustina or not. But then you emailed a couple weeks later saying that we were going to talk about this. And so it seems like it keeps coming up. So
Mhm.
maybe it's a note from the Holy Spirit to pray more for
Yeah.
Nigeria.
Yeah, and I started getting bombarded with emails about that time from like Chioma and Charles, the people who were here in the studio, and they were all coming at the same time. So I figured this was some kind of concerted effort. And then I scheduled them for today. And then I started thinking, like, gosh, it's such a heavy topic. And then we're like, hey, car raffle. And it
Right.
seemed a little odd. But I think in a way it was good because, again, it all ties together. We can't spend all of our life just mourning. We have a range of emotions, and we can get excited. But at the same time, in the next breath, we can say, folks, we need to really care about our brothers and sisters in Nigeria. So I think it turned out well. I thought it was a good program.
Oh, absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. They're both they were great guests to have on, too, to talk
Well,
about
I
it.
think the first step to change is making sure that everyone knows about it.
Yeah.
Like having a knowledge of what you want to change and acknowledging the problem is the first step. And so, like you said, if somebody or like Dr. Chris said, if somebody in Washington was listening,
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
could be thinking about what to do, what kind of laws to pass, and who to send over there to help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I wanted to bring up also a topic that we talked about at the beginning of the show, which is the presidential election this year.
Yes.
And get y'all's thoughts on this because, as I mentioned, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops every 4 years puts out, or maybe every 2 years, Forming Consciences for Faithful Citizenship. And there's some controversy this year because they put out a series of videos that do not, in the videos, recognize abortion as the preeminent issue for voters. Now, I think I understand that when you start talking about, this is the most important issue, then people can say, well, which party is taking this issue more seriously? And I think that's kind of a no-brainer.
Right.
And then would they be saying, go vote for the Republican? But when you leave it out, are they doing the opposite? Are
Right.
they saying, if are we trying to steer people away from the Republicans and vote Democrat? I think that's what the concern is.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know. I've always, it is interesting that they left it out. I do wonder what the thought process was with that. But I've always said, abortion is the preeminent issue because it's the beginning of all things. It's life.
Mhm.
I mean, so.
It just seems like we, as Catholics, should be concerned about all these topics. I know
absolutely.
personally, when somebody starts talking about climate change or the environmental issues, I have a tendency to say, whatever, because you're not taking abortion seriously. I'm not going to take your issue seriously. And I think
Right.
that's the way it's become.
Sure.
Or animal rights, and animals have some rights, not in the sense that humans do, but we need to be, not be unnecessarily cruel to
Sure,
animals,
sure.
right? But then I'm like, okay, that's a liberal issue, or climate change is a liberal issue, or homelessness. That should not be a liberal issue. That's a human issue,
No,
right?
absolutely.
And so, but what's the solution? How do we just, we can prioritize issues, but be concerned about all of them?
Right. Yeah. I think I saw a meme a while ago that was listing various things like, climate change or various things. And it's like, oh, if I support this, I'm this. If I support that, I'm this. I'm a Democrat. Or, going back and forth. And it's like, is it too much to ask to want to help fix all these problems, to do both at the same time? And unfortunately, the way it is now, it's very much like, oh, yeah, I want to help the homeless, and that's something you're in a category, which is really weird and strange, and shouldn't be that way. Because, like you said, Dave, abortion issues, that's a life issue.
Yeah. And in the most recent meeting of U.S. bishops, as I mentioned on the show, the bishops who fought to maintain abortion as the top social justice issue won a vote. It wasn't even close, 143 to 69. And they voted against including a full quote by Pope Francis in the document that downplayed abortion, in which one bishop argued was necessary to keep the bishop's priorities in line with the Pope's. And so the bishops voted to say, no, we need to keep preeminence of abortion.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it appeared in the document, but not in the videos. And so what about this? I mentioned this sign that the woman was holding. Did you hear this, Daniel? A woman earlier this week, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer was out in front of the Supreme Court, and he was, along with, I don't know, dozens of people, I don't know how many people are out there, kind of protesting against a likely vote by the Supreme Court soon about abortion rights. And I honestly don't know exactly what the vote is, but there's a big case coming up. And he used what many saw as threatening languages against a couple of the Supreme Court justices, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. A woman was there next to Schumer holding a sign that said, "Protecting abortion access is a Catholic value." Protecting abortion access is a Catholic value. What the heck does that mean?
I Sounds like someone who doesn't know what the Catholic faith is even about, or has not studied their faith at all. You know, that's what it sounds like to me.
Oh my gosh,
that's like saying destroying the environment is a Catholic value. I mean, even if you don't think environmental issues are that important, that's a crazy statement.
Yeah.
I mean, to say that destruction of something or, not helping the homeless is a Catholic value. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. I was just trying to look up that picture so I could show it to show it, but I found it. When I Googled that, I found a website called Catholics for Choice.
Yeah.
Literally, just a whole organization for Catholics who believe that Catholic tradition supports a woman's moral and legal right to follow her conscience in matters of sexuality and reproductive health.
And then they might as well just split entirely from the church altogether and just make their own church. I mean, because that's what it sounds like. It's kind of like they have their own idea of God in their mind of what he likes and what he accepts, and they're just going to write their own Bible, create their own church.
They're
and just,
changing God to fit how they want to live their life.
Exactly.
It's a cafeteria Catholic sort of thing. Of just picking and choosing, oh, this sounds good. I want this aspect of the Catholic faith. Because the Catholic faith is very beautiful and attracts many people who aren't even, Christian.
Yeah.
But people tend to be like, oh, I like this really beautiful part. Oh, I love adoration. I love it. But it's not following everything that the church is.
That's like the quote that I had from Hilaire Belloc, who won a parliamentary election in England in 1906. And he, as I mentioned during the show, was being accused of being too Catholic by his opponent, and his opponent thought that was going to work. And Hilaire Belloc stood up and said, "Gentlemen, I am a Catholic as far as possible. I go to Mass every day. This is a rosary. As far as possible, I kneel down and pray these beads every day. If you reject me on account of my religion, I shall thank God that he has spared me the indignity of being your representative." Isn't that awesome?
Can I just say that I love Hilaire Belloc, and the more I learn about him, the more I love him. When I was very young in our homeschool curriculum, I memorized poems by him, so I always knew him as a poet. And then as I got older, I learned, he was also kind of a philosopher and a lot of other things, so he's just an awesome person.
Yeah. When you think about that time period, I guess this is basically late 19th and 20th century. You've got Chesterton.
Yeah.
You've got Belloc. You've got C.S. Lewis.
Yes.
You've got Tolkien. I mean, that is some powerful. Now, C.S. Lewis was not Catholic, but he was
almost there.
He was a high Anglican. And,
Yes.
And as Dr. Peter Crave said one time during an interview with me, he said if he had become Catholic, the Protestants wouldn't read him. Like
true.
do Protestants read Chesterton?
No,
I don't know.
Not very much. No.
Not much.
No, not much.
But boy, what the powerful men of that era in England. So
absolutely.
A lot going on. So anyways, any other thoughts about politics in America?
That could be a whole lot.
I don't know. This is kind of a cliche, but get out and vote. If you stand for something and you believe in something, you got to get out there and have your voice heard and cast a ballot. And make sure that what you're voting for is compatible with what you believe. Because if you're in contradiction with yourself, it's kind of like where do you stand? You have to stand somewhere. So that's what you think about.
And, it appears that Joe Biden, former Vice President Joe Biden, is going to get the nomination for the Democratic side. It seems like his path is pretty straight, which is interesting because a week ago, people were asking him to drop out of the race.
I know.
And I think that just highlights how nutty things are on the Democratic side right now. But, he is, a Catholic. He talks about his Catholic faith a lot. During one of the recent debates, he said something about, how he likes to keep on time with his answers because of his Catholic upbringing. Do you remember that? He was complaining because everybody else was going over, and he said, I guess that's my Catholic school, influence. But here's a guy who used to be pro-life, changed as the party changed. He supports so-called gay marriage. He supports abortion pretty much through 9 months that's not a Catholic politician. Now, of course, the Crisis Magazine wrote the article about Trump being the first Catholic president.
He's also not.
No. I mean, there's not a perfect Catholic candidate. I mean,
No.
Trump's not even a Catholic. I mean, so it's kind of hard to call him a Catholic
I think he's a
president.
Presbyterian.
Yeah, he is.
But his
Yeah.
wife is Catholic.
Yeah.
Well, Melania is Catholic.
Mhm.
And so he's, we all, I mean, you're not married, but if you are one day, you'll see that your wives have a great influence on that. And you probably saw that in your own family.
Yes,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
The influence of wives. So
Absolutely.
who knows?
It is unfortunate that former Vice President Joe Biden claims to be Catholic but still contradicts it. It's one of those things where Catholics who don't truly know or live out their faith are kind of the worst thing because they should know, and they're spreading around something that isn't true.
Yeah.
And so
You'd rather have a politician who isn't Catholic.
Yeah, flat out not
It's like if you send your kids to a Catholic school and they teach heresy, you think like, why? If it's at a public school they teach heresy, I kind of expect that.
Right, right.
But at a Catholic school, you don't. And so when a Catholic politician presents himself as a Catholic, as does Nancy Pelosi and some of these others, you expect them to be more like Hilaire Belloc. But that's not the situation for most Catholic politicians these days.
We need a new Hilaire Belloc.
Yeah, we need a good representative of the church. I think like a lot of people see politicians who just say they're Catholic but don't really believe what the church teaches, and then they kind of paint this broad brush and they say, oh, it's those Catholics again, or oh, that's what the church teaches, but so we need somebody who actually stands up for what the church actually teaches, so people stop getting the wrong idea, because what they see in the media, they think, oh, that's the representative of Catholicism. Well, it's really not.
Yeah, because that's the most frustrating thing is that people can not agree with our faith and what we believe, but at least let them truly understand what it is we believe. Is right now it's a lot of misrepresentation. So
I mentioned I was listening to that political talk radio station, and that's where I first learned about this sign by Schumer. And the host, God love him, was really questioning that. He was saying, I thought, he didn't know. He wasn't sure because he seemed confused. Like, no, the Catholic Church doesn't support abortion. It's not a Catholic value.
Right.
And if he, who's very tuned in to issues, doesn't know, how many people see that sign and how scandalous that is?
I know.
A Catholic value? Killing babies?
Oh, I know.
That's like saying what's happening in Nigeria is a Catholic value. I mean, that's not a bad comparison.
No,
I mean,
it's not, because it's murder. It's still murder.
Yeah.
It's still murder. Yeah, when I went to the March for Life in D.C., we were walking by, and there was a group of counter-protesters, and one girl was standing there holding a sign saying, I'm a Catholic, pro-choice person. And we were with a group, and a seminarian we were with was like, I can't. I got to go over and talk to this girl. So it's unfortunately she just didn't really know her faith.
Yeah. I mean, we need the unanimity, like on certain issues, like let's say the Holocaust.
Right.
There's not a decent person that's going to say, Hitler was just pro-choice, or Hitler was,
Right.
But that was the murder of millions of people. So it is a good comparison. With racism, I think we've hit a point as a culture where people, a decent person is just not going to support that. Sure. And we need to get to the point as a culture where a decent, there's always going to be a few fringe people, but when half of your country supports so-called abortion rights, that's a sick society.
Oh, no. And it's something that I truly believe. I don't know when, but I do believe in the future that it's going to be one of those things that is in history books where we look back on it kind of like the Holocaust and racism and be like, wow, we let that happen, but also that we overcame it. And yeah, I just pray for those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in, we talked about Rwanda, years after the Rwandan genocide, the two tribes did come together, and there was apologies. Immaculate Gabiza actually met some of the people from the other tribe who apologized for killing her whole family. So I think there's going to come a day when people, maybe they'll be much older, say, you know what, I'm sorry that when I was younger I supported abortion rights. I was wrong.
Right.
Just like people say, hey, I'm sorry that I was racist, or I'm sorry that we supported this policy, or
absolutely,
anything. All right, so we did have a winner, by the way, of the car raffle. We were still trying to figure out who exactly this person is. We don't even know a gender. We hardly even know a name other than we have the ticket number and kind of because people scribble their name on there.
Right.
We don't. It's something like Parata. Do we know anything else, Diane? I'm just we're monitoring for the Facebook. Okay, we're trying to get a picture of the stub. And I'm kind of surprised we don't have that yet.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe Martine may have gotten a number and maybe on the phone.
Oh,
So
and talking to.
Possibly. Like I
Okay.
said, I don't want to speak too soon, but it sounded like it. Maybe. I'll keep the suspense going.
Okay. If you guys can talk for a second,
Sure,
I'm gonna
absolutely.
text our Midland office and say, can you take a picture of that stub and send it to me? So okay.
All right, Daniel, how are you doing today?
I
More
am
substantive than that.
Darn. Okay. Okay. So Daniel, was this your first primary to vote in? Out of curiosity.
Oh, let me think about that. Actually, yeah. For the president of the United States, yeah, this is my first primary. I did vote for like a local election for
Sure, yeah,
Texas. That was last year, but yeah, this is my first time ever actually voting. for
Sweet. Well,
president.
congratulations. I have a question. With your friends at college and stuff like that, about how many of them do you ever run into people who don't vote?
Oh yeah, most of my class didn't vote.
What are some of like the reasons for citing that?
Well, they just say they're not sure, or well, I've heard the answer. I just don't care. I've heard that
geez.
many times. Or they're just not sure. But I mean, this is how my class is kind of separated. There's like 2 Republicans, me and 1 girl. The rest, and then there's a portion that didn't vote, and then the others voted Democrat.
Are they
So-
feeling the burn? Is that the typical sentiment?
Mostly Bernie Sanders. I know one guy who likes Elizabeth Warren a lot. He's been supporting her for like years. He really wants her to become president. And then the rest just love Bernie Sanders. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just talking because I the other day I was chatting with someone at my school and I was just surprised. I'd actually never run into someone and had a conversation, someone I considered a friend who said, yeah, I don't vote. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm like, it's a free
Yeah.
country. You're free not to vote. And I said, but of course, in the back of my mind, I always think, well, if you don't vote, you can't really like complain about
Yeah.
how things are going. This particular person was blaming the system that we
Yeah,
have.
because
but-
when we were on with Jonathan Sines on Monday, and Jonathan is with Texas Values, remember you and Olivia and I
Yep.
had not voted
Yes.
yet, and we all pledged to vote.
Yes.
And the next day was Super Tuesday. You
Yep.
got out and voted.
I got out in the last
I
30
voted.
minutes.
I don't know if Olivia did. I presume she did.
And
Diane?
I thank you, Dave, for informing people to go out and vote on your show, on the Good News show that Monday, because I was listening in, and I said, I remember that show. I'm gonna go vote this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Listening to
Oh,
Jonathan
okay.
Sines, so that it's always good to remind people to vote, because sometimes you wake up and you're like, oh, I'll just do it in the evening. Or,
Yeah.
And then you put it off, and then when the time comes, you're like, oh, I will do it next in the presidential election.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's really easy, especially for the primaries. I feel like people don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
But I know I did not get up early enough to go before work. I was trying and I didn't. And I was like, I'm going to have to push as soon as I leave work and drive home. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
This this is a problem.
Oh, dear.
Okay, so anyways, we're going to be trying to get a hold of the winner of the ticket. I was afraid something like this was going to happen. We're going to identify the person one way or the other, but
gonna find
let's
it.
just say there are some challenges.
Yeah, there's some challenges with this ticket
some,
stub.
some serious challenges with the stub, and so
We will
we're,
find you.
Yeah.
That's okay. Don't sound creepy.
In fact, we have the ticket number,
So
and
we know what parish
this
was
is-
sold
we
at?
almost have to call in detectives on this one to try to
Hey,
find it.
can I
because-
be the official detective?
The
Because I'll have a lot of
detective,
fun. This is
Well,
my life. I've been dreaming for this.
we kept a spreadsheet for
Yeah.
the English side, and it's other than the ones that were sold in the last weekend, they're on the spreadsheet, so I can go back and look at the ticket number and at least find out where the parish was. But it may take a little bit of time to find this winner. But
I could read the name, but it's just.
is it Caesar? Does it look like Caesar?
It looks like Cysteria.
Hysteria. Okay.
Cysteria Parocta.
If you're someone like me who often has their name mispronounced and you think that might be you, let us know.
Yeah.
Like, let us know. Because I definitely have won raffles before, Dave, where they've struggled pronouncing my name, even though I had it all spelled and like written out. And I'm like, if it has a lot of S's, it's me. Hello, that it was me.
Yeah. This is problematic, but we're going to find out. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up the after show. Daniel, thank you so much. Any last comments or statements?
Get out and vote. And if you don't care,
voting's over.
If you don't,
get out and vote in November.
Yeah, I was going to say voting's done.
Yeah, but I have to say this to all the people who say I don't care. Maybe right now you don't, but when you start working and you are supporting yourself, you'll start caring about who's in office. So, start thinking about it now. If you're one of those people who says I don't really care about voting, it's really important. So.
All
It's
right.
also daylight savings time.
Oh, it's good. Very important, Diane.
Very good. Very good.
Very important. Don't miss Mass.
On Morning Glory this morning, I don't know if you heard this, Deacon Harrowbrook Sivers and Gloria and